Hello everyone and welcome to an exciting journey into the world of diversity in living organisms. Today, we are diving into a fascinating group of creatures, platyhelminths, also known as flatworms. We'll explore their unique flat bodies, looking at examples like planaria, tapeworms, and liver flukes. Get ready to uncover their secrets, from easy basics to the hardest scientific insights. Let's begin this amazing four-level learning adventure. Ready to meet some of the simplest, yet incredibly intriguing, animals on Earth? Let's start with the basics of flatworms. Platyhelminths, simply called flatworms, are among the most basic animals that have a distinct head and tail, meaning they show bilateral symmetry. As their name suggests, platy means flat, and helminth means worm, so their bodies are flattened from top to bottom, like a ribbon. A key feature is that they are achoelomate, they don't have a true body cavity. They are also the first group to show organ-level organization, a big step in animal evolution. While many are parasitic, some, like planaria, live freely. Other important examples include the parasitic tapeworm and liver fluke. Let's explore some key features. Their bilateral symmetry means you can divide them into two identical halves. They are triploblastic, developing from three distinct germ layers during their embryonic stage: ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm, which allows for more complex tissue development. For excretion and maintaining water balance, they have specialized structures called flame cells. Among the examples, planaria is a free-living flatworm famous for its incredible ability to regrow lost parts. In contrast, tapeworms and liver flukes are parasitic, meaning they live inside other animals and can cause various diseases. Now, let's test your understanding with a few quick questions. First, what is the most distinctive physical characteristic of platyhelminths? Second, can you name two examples of parasitic flatworms? And third, what are flame cells and what is their primary function? Take a moment to think about these. You've got this. Great job with the basics. Now, let's peel back another layer and explore the world of flatworms in more detail. Delving deeper into their anatomy, flatworms maintain their triploblastic, bilaterally symmetrical, and achoelomate body plan, meaning their internal space is filled with a tissue called parenchyma, not a fluid-filled cavity. This group represents the organ level of organization, where tissues group together to form simple organs, a significant evolutionary leap. Due to the absence of specialized respiratory and circulatory systems, essential functions like gas exchange and nutrient distribution rely mainly on diffusion across their flattened body surface. The presence of the mesoderm allows for the development of muscles and more complex organ structures, enabling more coordinated movements. Let's look at their internal systems. The digestive system in many free-living flatworms, like planaria, is incomplete, having a single opening for both eating and waste. However, parasitic tapeworms have taken adaptation to an extreme, completely lacking a digestive tract and absorbing predigested nutrients directly from their host. Their excretory system, composed of protonephridia with flame cells, is remarkable. These flame cells, with their beating cilia, create a current that helps in osmoregulation and waste removal. Their nervous system is primitive but organized, featuring anterior ganglia, acting as a simple brain, and a ladder-like network of nerve cords throughout the body. This allows them to sense and respond to their environment effectively. When it comes to reproduction, most flatworms are hermaphroditic, meaning a single individual possesses both male and female reproductive organs. This allows for both self-fertilization and cross-fertilization. Free-living forms like planaria are also famous for asexual reproduction through fragmentation and regeneration, where a small piece can regrow into a complete organism. Parasitic flatworms have evolved incredible adaptations for survival within their hosts. These include specialized hooks and suckers, like the scolex of a tapeworm, for firm attachment. They also possess a tough outer layer called a tegument, which protects them from the host's digestive enzymes and immune system. Their high reproductive capacity ensures the continuation of their species, overcoming the challenges of a parasitic life. Time for some medium-level questions. First, describe the body symmetry and the presence or absence of a body cavity in platyhelminths. Second, how do parasitic flatworms like tapeworms obtain their nutrition, given their lack of a digestive system? Third, explain the function of flame cells in platyhelminths. Fourth, what does it mean for an organism to be hermaphroditic, and how does this apply to flatworms? And finally, name two specific adaptations that parasitic flatworms have developed to survive in their host. Good luck! You've mastered the medium level. Now, let's push our understanding further and explore the deeper complexities of flatworms. Platyhelminths hold immense evolutionary significance. They represent a pivotal step in animal evolution, being the first group to exhibit bilateral symmetry and the beginnings of cephalization, or head formation. This allowed for more directed movement and better interaction with the environment. Crucially, they are the first triploblastic animals, meaning they develop from 3 germ layers. The emergence of the mesoderm enabled the development of true muscles and more complex organs, leading to more active and varied lifestyles. Their aquelomate condition, lacking a true body cavity, places them uniquely in the phylogenetic tree, showing a transition from simpler radial forms to more complex coelomate animals. The diversity within platyhelminths is fascinating, broadly categorized into 3 classes. Class Turbellaria includes mostly free-living forms like Planaria, characterized by a ciliate epidermis for movement and remarkable regenerative abilities. Class Trematoda comprises the parasitic flukes, such as the liver fluke. These are unsegmented, typically leaf-shaped, and use oral and ventral suckers for attachment. Their life cycles are often complex, involving one or more intermediate hosts. Lastly, class Cestoda includes the parasitic tapeworms, like Taenia. They have a highly specialized body made of a scolex for attachment and numerous segments called proglottids, each a reproductive unit. Tapeworms lack a digestive tract, absorbing nutrients directly from their host. Beyond their biology, flatworms play distinct ecological roles and have significant medical impact. Free-living flatworms, like Planaria, are important components of aquatic food webs, acting as predators or scavengers and contributing to nutrient cycling. However, the parasitic forms are major pathogens for both humans and livestock. For instance, tapeworm infections, known as taniasis, can lead to malnutrition and, in severe cases, neurological problems if larvae migrate to the brain. Liver flukes cause fasciolasis, damaging the liver and bile ducts. Understanding their intricate life cycles and modes of transmission is crucial for developing effective control and prevention strategies, safeguarding public health and agricultural economies. Now, let's tackle some harder questions. First, discuss the evolutionary significance of platyhelminths in the animal kingdom. Second, differentiate between free-living and parasitic platyhelminths with examples. Third, how does the absence of a true column affect the body plan and functions of flatworms? Fourth, explain the adaptive features of a tapeworm that enable its parasitic lifestyle. Fifth, outline the basic differences in body structure between Planaria, a liver fluke, and a tapeworm. Sixth, what is the role of intermediate hosts in the life cycle of parasitic flatworms? And finally, describe the unique excretory system of platyhelminths. Good luck! You've demonstrated a strong grasp of the hard concepts. Now, for those aiming for competitive excellence, let's explore the cutting-edge and deepest insights into platyhelminths. Let's dive into the advanced physiology of flatworms. Their protonephridia, with their characteristic flame cells, are not just simple excretory organs but highly specialized units for osmoregulation. The synchronized beating of cilia within the flame cells creates a negative pressure, driving interstitial fluid into the tubules for ultrafiltration, a critical function for maintaining internal water balance, especially in freshwater species. The nervous system, though described as ladder-like, exhibits significant cephalization, with a primitive brain or cerebral ganglia at the anterior end. This concentration of nervous tissue, along with well-developed chemoreceptors, mechanoreceptors, and photoreceptors, ocelli in free-living forms, allows for complex sensory perception and coordinated behavioral responses, enabling them to navigate and interact with their environment effectively. Parasitic flatworms showcase remarkable sophistication in their host-parasite interactions and immune evasion. Their attachment mechanisms are highly specialized. For instance, tapeworms utilize a scolex armed with hooks and suckers for tenacious adherence to the intestinal wall, while flukes use oral and ventral suckers. To evade the host's immune system, they employ various strategies: molecular mimicry, where they coat themselves with host molecules to appear, tegument shedding, where they periodically slough off their outer layer, removing attached antibodies, and secreting enzyme inhibitors to neutralize host digestive enzymes or immune proteases. These adaptations allow them to persist and thrive within a hostile host environment, often for many years, causing chronic infections and significant impact on host physiology, including nutrient depletion and organ damage. The study of planarian regeneration offers profound insights into stem cell biology. Their extraordinary ability to regenerate from minute fragments is attributed to a population of totipotent stem cells called neoblasts, which can differentiate into any cell type. Molecular pathways, including WNT signaling and fibroblast growth factor (FGF) pathways, are critical regulators of this process, providing models for understanding tissue repair and disease like cancer. From a public health perspective, flatworm infections remain a global challenge. Control strategies involve anthelmintic drugs like praziquantel, which paralyzes the worms, allowing them to be expelled. However, challenges such as drug resistance, the complexity of their life cycles, and the absence of effective vaccines continue to complicate eradication efforts, emphasizing the need for integrated approaches including improved sanitation, food safety, and vector control. Finally, let's consider the phylogenetic debates and evolutionary insights. The acoelomate condition of platyhelminths was traditionally viewed as a primitive trait, representing an early stage in bilateral animal evolution. However, molecular evidence now suggests that in some groups, the absence of a column might be a secondary loss, implying a more complex evolutionary trajectory. Platyhelminths are nested within the superphylum Lophotrochoco, sharing ancestry with diverse groups like mollusks and annelids. The evolution of parasitism within the phylum is also a fascinating area, with trematodes and cestodes likely having evolved their parasitic lifestyles independently, showcasing remarkable convergent evolution. These ongoing studies continually refine our understanding of early animal diversification and the adaptive radiation of life forms. Now, let's challenge ourselves with the first 5 hardest questions. 1. Elaborate on the detailed mechanism by which flame cells achieve both excretion and osmoregulation in platyhelminths. 2. Discuss at least 3 distinct strategies employed by parasitic flatworms to successfully evade or modulate the host's immune system. 3. Describe the molecular and cellular basis of the exceptional regenerative capacity of planaria, highlighting the role of specific cell types and signaling pathways. 4. Compare and contrast the life cycles of a cestode, like Taenia solium, and a trematode, like Fasciola hepatica, emphasizing the differences in intermediate hosts and infective stages. And 5. Analyze the major challenges in developing effective vaccines against parasitic flatworm infections, considering their complex life cycles and immune evasion tactics. Continuing with the hardest questions, here are the next 5. 6. From a phylogenetic perspective, critically evaluate the hypothesis that the acoelomate condition in platyhelminths is a secondary loss rather than a primitive trait. 7. explain how the absence of specialized circulatory and respiratory systems influences the body plan and physiological constraints of larger flatworms. 8. Detail the specialized structures of the scolex and proglottids in a tapeworm and explain how each contributes to its survival and reproductive success. 9. Outline comprehensive public health interventions necessary to control and prevent the spread of diseases caused by parasitic flatworms in human populations. And 10. Beyond regeneration, discuss other advanced sensory or physiological adaptations observed in free-living platyhelminths that contribute to their survival in diverse environments. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into platyhelminths. We've journeyed from their basic flat body plan to their intricate physiology, evolutionary significance, and impact on global health. We hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity and enhanced your understanding of biodiversity. Remember, learning is a continuous adventure. For more such engaging and in-depth educational content, visit our website at synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for regular updates and more fascinating topics. Keep exploring, keep learning, and stay curious.